Welcome to the Shift Happens podcast, where we explore the latest trends and technologies transforming the future of work. Today, we're joined by Ali Ward, Microsoft 365 Product and Platform Services Manager at a leading law firm. Ali's work sits at the crossroads of technology, compliance, and culture, helping thousands of professionals across multiple regions use Microsoft 365 and AI securely and effectively. In this conversation, Ali takes us inside what it really looks like to deliver innovation in a regulated global industry. She talks about building trust in new technology, using data to drive adoption, supporting neurodiverse teams, and balancing global strategy with local realities.
Shift Happens Podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Shift Happens Podcast. Today, we're so excited for the opportunity to get to talk to Ali Ward, who's going to share her journey, her experience, and how she led really a major transformation within her organization in adopting AI, Copilot, and all new things. Ali, welcome to Shift Happens.
Hi, nice to see you again, Dux.
Well, before we jump right into it, we always start with this question, asking our guests for our soundtrack of Shift segment. Which song best describe to you the change and transformation we're going through right now?
I think We Will Rock You from Queen. Not so much the lyrics on it, but just it's that beat says things are going to change. Yeah, so We Will Rock You is iconic, and to me that says change and transformation.
That's a phenomenal pick. I love Queen, pretty much I love all their songs, but this song specifically, the change, but I also love the part I was telling my colleague earlier, I didn't really think about it until I went through the lyrics. It goes through this evolution, right? Where it starts with a boy and a man, and then the last verse, I think, is about an old person. But it talks about change is constant, but at the same time, change is growth too. So that's how I think about it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, and yeah, with the rhythm as well. That's when you said what makes you think about that. Yeah, We Will Rock You. It just says change.
And though the song seems like it's going to be hard, all these changes, but it comes off, at least for me, very positive. Like, we'll rock you, we'll make a difference. This will be good and awesome, even though it may be hard, but it will be awesome.
Yeah, and change is inevitable. Change, especially in IT. If you know nothing else, when you've been in IT, as long as I at least have been in IT, change is constant, and you have to embrace it, get on board with it, and this new world that changes every 3 years or so, especially where we are at the moment, it's just enormous change, and get on board with it, embrace it.
So you talk about change in IT. You've been doing IT for a long time. Have you had that outlook from day one? Maybe share a bit of your IT journey and how you ended up doing what you're doing today.
Oh, okay. IT journey. So back in the early 90s, I was what they called an analyst programmer. Don't know if any of you had been around a while to remember what an analyst programmer is. We used to do the initial scoping of a change. We'd talk to the users, and then we'd go away and we'd work out what we were going to do, and then we'd actually code it, and then we'd test it, and then we'd implement it. And if it fell over at 2 o'clock in the morning, you got up and fixed it as well. So I was all of those things when I started, and I've sort of done a lot of jobs over the years. I've been an ops analyst. I don't know if anyone knows what one of those are anymore. In the old days of mainframes, wasn't quite paper tape, but nearly. And I've been test manager, so I've seen each of the sides of it. And I was a business analyst for 15 years, and then the natural transition there is into product owner, because I own the whole of the stack now for Microsoft. It was the natural change from a business analyst that's you do within a project and you own something, and now I've actually got products of my own.
So throughout those changes, evolution, and yes, I do remember that time. One of my earlier work, as I started my career as a developer, I would code in assembler, and I was a developer, and I would work closely with a business analyst or the analyst, because they would get requirements from the business and they'll translate it to me, and then I'll code it. And you've described it, you talked about that. You talked about mainframes, VAX VMS maybe, and then the internet came along.
IBM, COBOL, DB2.
DB2, yeah. So while all these changes happen, anything you've noticed that's consistent throughout, even to today, Copilot?
inevitably you have to keep changing. The world keeps changing, and IT has to keep responding to it. And there's no point sticking your head in the sand and saying, I don't like it, or I don't want to do it. The thing for me has been to move with it. I've had that many roles over the years because I've grown, I've transitioned, moved into fairly, I've not sort of applied for new things. It's just been, here's a new opportunity, here's a new problem to solve. And I think that's what IT is. Go solve the problems and be the person that says, well, okay, I can help you solve that. And it opens up more doors and things. And I think, Copilot's just another example of that, isn't it? AI, they're either super hyped about it, it's the best thing since sliced bread, or they're scared to, "Oh, it's gonna take my job." And I think it's gonna change. It is making change, but it's not as drastic, and what will come out the other side will be just a different norm. It won't be less, it won't be fewer, it will be different with, using different skills and, uh, yeah, and that's what I've seen all the way through from IT. Old mainframe things, I bet there's still some of them around. I bet some of the programs that we used to work on are probably still around somewhere along the line. But yeah, you just gotta get on board.
Yeah, yeah. Ali, I love that perspective and how it's clear you're excited about it. And I think generally speaking, most of the people in technology I know have the same outlook. While there may be folks, because I remember back in the days when the cloud was starting, I know a lot of people working on on-prem servers. They're like, oh, I'm not going to go to the cloud. I'm not going to learn the cloud. I enjoy every Tuesday patching up the systems and doing upgrades.
Well, yeah, you're right. But no one truly enjoys patching stuff, do they? Certainly not when it breaks. But you're right. And actually, there is still some elements of that. You look around, there are still teams that actually they've still got their AD and they want to stay on-prem because actually it's a big move. It's a big transition to go to the cloud. And it's not all, flowers and clover and things, is it? It's got its own challenges, and you just need to plan the thing that you need to do, plan where you're going and work towards it. Have a goal, and, just keep picking away at the problems that stop you having that goal.
And you said the magic word, right? We're here as technologists to solve problems, to help the business. And I think having that mindset versus, oh, my job is to make sure the systems are running. Well, it's true, but that's secondary or tertiary. In thinking about solving problems, so maybe let's start how your organization got started with Copilot AI. What was the problem you're trying to solve? What was the driving force behind this initiative?
Okay, so we kicked off our journey with the 300 user early access program back in June 23. Were we solving a problem, or were we? That our problem is very competitive law firms is to stay abreast of what other law firms are doing as well, I think, frankly. And so what's this all about? Let's work out what impact it might have, what we can use it for. Um, Fast forward 2 years from that, we've now got over 2,000 licenses in place. So we've adopted it, and yeah, the legal sector is incredibly competitive. So staying ahead means embracing the tools that help you to work smarter on it. And Copilot looks like it fits that bill. Um, so law firms generate and manage vast amounts of documentation. Millions and millions of documents on contracts and case files, due diligence reports, whatever it might be, depending on what the firm's working on. And Copilot helps us reduce that manual effort of sifting through all of that content. And, it might be identifying precedents, summarizing facts, or supporting an M&A due diligence, whatever it might be. AI is well placed to do the heavy lifting on that, which then frees up expensive lawyers for much higher value work rather than just doing the admin of it. Copilot's doing the heavy lifting on it, and we saw that early on, that it's not just a shiny new tool. Yes, heads are doing it, but it's not just a shiny new tool. It's got real potential to improve productivity and take friction away from everyday tasks on it. So I've tracked that usage from day one in Power BI, and that data was then the business case for scaling up. I can see how much people are using it, and it showed us where it was making a difference and where we need it to focus on adoption on it. And we feel like our training materials, we ran demos, created a center of excellence so that we can share those experiences and get support on it. And that community aspect is key for the building of momentum that we've done. And ultimately the driving force is simple. We wanted to give our lawyers and our back office teams tools that actually help them. So it's not just a tick box. It's a tool to help them do more, do better.
Yeah. I mean, while the initial driver motivation just to make sure you stay competitive, you stay ahead, but in the end, all these other benefits came into light as well. For the benefit of our listeners, how what does the organization look like? Are you in one region? How many geographies? And this can really give a better perspective of the profile of people in your organization using it.
Yeah. Okay. So we have got about 8,500 users. Half or so of them are lawyers, and we operate on what's called a Swiss variant structure. So what that means is that while we're one global brand, each region retains its own legal and operational independence on it, which that of course adds complexity when it comes to technology, especially around privacy, compliance, data residency. So my role as the global product owner for Microsoft is to balance those regional needs with a unified strategy on it. And so some of my regions prioritize strict data controls, others are more focused on collaboration and productivity. We've now got 4 main regions globally on that. So, and then I will work closely with legal, compliance, and IT teams to make sure tools like Teams, SharePoint, Copilot are deployed in ways that meet those local regulations that still support global workflows. The phrase I use is think global, act local. And that's absolutely key to a firm like mine, is that there are really specific compliance needs, privacy needs in each region, and they're not necessarily the same as everyone else. So you've got to understand that. A large part of my job is stakeholder engagement, helping the lawyers and the support teams to understand the value of the tools and making sure the adoption's been aligned with how they actually work on it, and managing governance, for example. Copilot Studio, for example, a recent area we've been looking at, talking about environment routing and managed environments so that we can control the play area that people are doing when they're playing with new tools. You don't want them to accidentally do something you don't really want them to do. So we've been talking about managing some of those sorts of things on it. And ultimately, it's about making Microsoft 365 work for a complex, multi-jurisdictional firm securely, efficiently, and a way that supports our lawyers to deliver a world-class client service.
Certainly, I can imagine compliance being a big challenge, not just you being a law firm, but regional requirements as well. So can you share some examples of compliance issues that y'all had to deal with and figure out what to do?
Yeah, so compliance issues. Actually, compliance was probably one of our biggest areas of challenge at all. So one example is whether or not you record or transcribe meetings. If you want to get the benefit out of using Copilot in Teams, you need to be having at least a transcription. Our policy in at least, well, yeah, but our policy in at least 2 of the regions was, no, you don't get to record meetings. We don't think that's a good thing to do. And therefore, you needed permission from someone very senior in compliance to say, yes, you can record. So that discussion around what do we do? What do we turn on? Do we just do transcription? Do we allow recording as well? Was a different conversation in each of the regions on it. And we had to work closely with all the compliance teams to understand, well, what is the actual risk here? And, get some clarity from Microsoft. Where's the data's being stored? What it will and what it won't be used for. It's not training on our data. Those sorts of conversations had to be had multiple times in each of the regions to get to a point at which each region was comfortable that their own compliance and privacy needs were being met.
After you went through that hurdle, another area I was thinking about is, as you roll this out, how did you approach change management or adoption? Because it's different for different groups of people, different countries, especially lawyers, right? Where they're so busy and this is one more tool to introduce.
Yeah, and that's definitely a challenge. So what we did when we first started with the AAP was we identified the users we thought were most likely to benefit from Copilot early on. And to be fair, they were mainly business services teams rather than fee earners, because it was very, very new at that point in time. A part of it is fee earners, that they haven't got time to be messing around with something. And to be honest, if you give them something and it doesn't work properly first time, they're likely to say, this is rubbish, I'm not going to use it. So we started, learning what it is with our business services, with the people who create, who interpret, who manage large volumes of documents, project managers, business analysts, knowledge teams, learning teams, people who are going to get the most benefit from what we knew early on. Of course, we really knew about Word, and we knew about Excel, and we knew about PowerPoint. It wasn't really the Teams chat at that point in time. I mean, it's only 2 years ago, but actually it was very limited at that what compared to what we've got now, it was very limited, which then meant that targeted rollout meant that we could build momentum and gather feedback before we scaled up on it. We tailored the training to real world use cases, not just generic demos on it. We ran drop-in sessions. We created prompting guides. We built a Copilot Center of Excellence, which meant that there was a place, a community that people could go to share experience, to ask questions, share best practices. I think one of the biggest challenges of it was the sheer variety of ways that it can be used. Powerful, but it can be completely overwhelming when we've seen that. We've done sort of, training with people and they say, "It's just too much. I can't cope. You told me that this is I don't know what to do first." So, actually what we've learned to do is to scale back that initial training and just focus on show them 3 things: show them Outlook, show them team summaries, and show them chat. Give them a chance to get started on it, do those things, and then once you've done that, you can then drip feed additional learning through targeted comms, at specific guidance. For example, how to use Copilot in Word for a precedent review or Excel for financial modeling. Um, and we've talked about the compliance concerns on that, but and then prompting. That was, I think, the other thing we learned. It's a skill in itself. So we created prompt libraries, introduced apps like Prompt Buddy, agents like Prompt Coach, just to help people use the tool that worked best for them to refine their queries and get better results. Teach them to use GCSE. Give it a goal, give it context, tell it where you're getting information from, that's the source, and how do you want the output to look like. Teach them to actually write their prompt. It's so different. We're used to using in, during a Google search, you just put 2 or 3 words in. It's a keyword search. And that isn't what works best with Copilot. The more you can tell Copilot about what you're doing, why you're doing, and what you want to get out of it, the better the answer is going to be. I mean, I consistently write a paragraph with almost anything I do. And in really the simplest of queries, I write a paragraph now to get what I want out of it.
So I would imagine the legal industry, especially for lawyers, they would be really good at prompting, as long as once they own the mechanics of it. No.
Yes, I mean, if that's what they've actually taken from the training, in theory, they ought to be good at it. And I don't know that I've got empirical evidence to know one way or t'other. You would think so, because they know what they want. When I'm training, what I teach is to say, pretend that you're talking to someone who's a junior in your team, a junior that is really keen, really happy to do stuff, but doesn't really know a great deal. So if you were going to tell them to do something, you wouldn't just say, "Go and do X." You'd say, "I'm trying to create a presentation for this client. I need it to look like this. The information is in that set of information over there. And when you bring it out, I need it to have this structure. Here's a template. Here's an organization of it. That's what I need from it." And if you think about that in terms of a junior member of staff, and what's all that, you wouldn't take that thing that that junior member of staff is and give it to someone. You wouldn't give it to your boss, and you wouldn't give it to your client without checking it first. Teaching that as well, and you get a much better outcome on it. That's what I train.
That's very good advice, because recently, I don't know if you saw this in the news, there's in the legal industry, there's been lawyers letting AI do the work, not checking, and they hallucinate, and then all these issues, and then the judge even read it. It's like, did you even do your homework?
Yeah, I mean, there's no excuse. I'm sorry, there is no excuse for that. You're a lawyer. You're supposed to read what you're doing, and yeah, don't care what tools you've used on it. You've got no business putting something in front of jurisdictional through a judge or whatever if you haven't checked it first. You wouldn't do it with a junior member of staff. You wouldn't trust what they did. Don't do it with Copilot. Copilot's great. It's absolutely amazing. Does some really amazing things. But oh my God, I would not trust it without checking it.
Any use case that you start seeing people using it for that you weren't expecting, which you thought was really cool or very clever of how people are using Copilot?
We're still working out some of our use cases, what we might use it for. I mean, and it's taken time to build that momentum, to be fair. A year ago, average usage was less than 1 interaction per user per week. Now it's more like 25 per user per week. Our top users hit sort of 200 plus per week. And I personally use it all day, every day for everything, averaging sort of 150 uses a week. So it varies. So getting those use cases out has been There's been a bit of a challenge. It's clearly being used. It's clearly making a difference because people don't use what isn't going to be helping them. I can tell you some of my things that I've got from it. Analyst, for example. Analyst, best since sliced bread. Love Analyst. I've used it to take one spreadsheet and completely to build another spreadsheet from a spreadsheet, taking the source from one and then apply formulae and structure and formatting and things and create a completely new spreadsheet from it. And it just, get your prompt right. It might take me a while to get the prompt right, but then I can redo that process over and over and over, just rerunning the same prompt on it. So I did it for creating some bid material on it. So I took my requirements and turned it into questionnaires for my vendors on it. Researcher, another thing, best thing since sliced bread as well. It's the time it's saved. You can give it to if you were to researcher, and what have I used it for? I've used it for a whole list of things. I was looking to buy a tool, and I wanted to know what tool should I be looking at. What should I actually be doing doing an RFP on? So so I've got these vendors. I'm interested in these vendors in it, and then so Copilot, tell me what's strong and what's weak in each of those vendors. And by the way, who else in that field knows knows more about it? Ought I be including in my RFP on it? And I got a 50-page document out, give me chapter and verse on it. I mean, that sort of thing. It's just the productivity on it is just amazing. And then you've got GPT-5. That's that big deal. So you've got your ordinary prompt, and then you've got your research. If you want that thing that's just going to delve a bit deeper, if I want a more thorough answer than just a glib, whatever it might be, I wanted to actually check itself a bit more, I turn on GPT-5 and I've got those answers on it. So, yeah, those sorts of things are, masses of difference. And I expect my lawyers to be doing the same sort of thing for their research, for their due diligence, for all those sorts of things.
So based on this use, and it's exciting to hear that there's growth, how are you reporting back to leadership or demonstrating the value, or as they would say, the ROI or the impact it has delivered the organization?
Well, so as I say, I've been tracking it in Power BI from the very beginning. So I have a Power BI dashboard that is available to all of my leadership, and that shows them at a regional level exactly who's using Word, who's using Teams, who's using the free net. And that's it as much as anyone else. So that, not just who have we licensed, but who's using it anyway in the free space on it. I do all of that, and I bring that into a Copilot generated summary every month that says, okay, well, what have we actually achieved with it? And I get Copilot to look at my emails, to look at my Power BI, to look at my outputs on it, and turn that into an exec ready format to report on it. So, and then there's keeping on top of the changes and things as well, some reports on those sorts of things as well. But yeah, it's important, and I think what I'm seeing, it's not about saving the hours. It's about the increased productivity on it. It's a capacity multiplier. I say, I mean, I use it all day, every day, and it meant that I can take on more responsibility than I could possibly have managed otherwise. I'm effectively doing 2 jobs now, and I can only do those 2 jobs because Copilot has freed up the mundane stuff that would take several hours a week. I can do in an hour or 2 now to free it up so I can do some of the other more strategic things that's part of the role.
And that's a key point, right? Because since Copilot or Gen AI was introduced, it's all about saving money, saving time, which is true. But then, like you said, there's a massive opportunity for increasing capacity, or even doing things that you're not able to do before, right? Like I don't like doing spreadsheets. I'm not good at it. I can't do pivot tables. But with Analyst and all these capabilities, it helps me slice and dice data much better than I could on my own.
Yeah, it's interesting that what you say about Excel on there. So I love Excel. I could spend all day, every day looking at spreadsheets given a choice, but a lot of people like you perhaps aren't that comfortable with it. And it's one of the things when I was talking about it and training it on originally, I don't find it overly helpful. But actually, the people that find Excel really helpful I think this is true of the other, is it's the people where it's not their comfort place. And that's what Copilot's doing. It is creating a leveler, isn't it? Where you're not so good, it helps you to bring it up. If you're not so good at PowerPoint, then Copilot gives you the better ways of doing that. Or you're not so good at crafting words and things, then Copilot can do that for you. You can pick and choose the things that work. I had a conversation once with a lawyer. He said, hell will freeze over before I let Copilot write an email for me. That's fine. He writes these most beautiful emails. But for me, I love the fact that I can write a scrappy email that says essentially, okay, thanks for what you're asking me, but I really can't help you. I'm too busy or whatever else. And you can't write an email that says, I'm not going to help you. You have to rephrase it. And Copilot is brilliant about that. I'll say, this is what I want to say right now, Copilot, phrase that politely for someone that I don't know particularly well. And it just turns it into an appropriately formatted thing. And so rather than me spending 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes thinking about how to say it, I've got what I want in just a matter of minutes. And that sort of change adds up. And that's where I get benefit. But for someone that, needs to do more in Excel and doesn't know how to do it, they can use Copilot there. And it meets the person where they are and levels the playing field, I think.
I love that. That should be a new marketing slogan. Copilot meets you where you are, because you're exactly right. Because sometimes I hear people complain, oh, it's not good in PowerPoint, because the person saying that is really good at PowerPoint, and it's okay. Don't use it for PowerPoint. I suck at Excel. I can't do pivot tables for the life of me, but Copilot helps me for it, right? So that should be the marketing. It helps you where you need to be, and it augments and complements what you think you're weak in.
Yeah. I mean, think about the neurodiversity, Amy. We don't hear as much about that we should, but for people who struggle to get started on a task, or people who are struggling, just overwhelmed by the amount of information they're supposed to be taking in, they're sitting in meetings, struggling to focus on it, they're distracted, whatever, they can go, what did I just miss, Copilot? Or they can come back later and see what do they know about it. For the neurodiversity side of things, I think, again, leveling the playing field, making it accessible, making work accessible to people, because they've now got a tool that helps them to manage just the whole stress of the amount of things that they're working on. I think it's an underplayed area that, some firms are making a big deal of it, other firms are kind of ignoring it. And I think it's an area that is underrated and should perhaps be given a great deal more focus, because it levels the playing field. I mean, I know I've said that half dozen times now, but that's what it's doing.
Well, Ali, this is a really awesome conversation, respectful of your time. Before we wrap up, for similar organizations, especially in the legal industry, considering similar rollout, what practical advice would you give them so they can embrace this journey with leveraging be it Copilot or Gemini or any AI-related technology?
Okay, so I think start with a solid support structure on it. Set up a center of excellence on it with online training resources, a champions network. You're going to need people who can answer questions and share best practices to keep that momentum going. If you haven't got it, it won't happen on its own. Keep the training bite-sized. Don't overwhelm users with everything that it can do. So focus on those core use cases first, like Outlook, team summaries, chat, and then you can layer in more advanced scenarios when people are ready for them. One thing we haven't talked about is check your data quality and access controls. Copilot only sees what users have got access to, but if you're heavy on SharePoint, you need to make sure that your privacy settings are in place. Sites that are improperly locked down can be accessed by Copilot. So you need to check for your public sites and teams and make them private if necessary before you open it up, because, if you haven't locked it down, it's not that people couldn't get at it, but they didn't know they could get at it. They're soon going to be able to with Copilot if you don't do that. I would say track your usage. Microsoft provides some tools. Depending on your setup, they might not give you the full picture. I built my own tracking of Power BI, but actually there's quite a lot of tools on the market now that are starting to do that. So if you don't have the skills to do what I've done, or don't like what Microsoft done, there's plenty of tools out there that will help you to track that usage, and use it to target the training, to identify the gaps, and even potentially reallocate licenses. If you've only got so many licenses, you want to be able to reallocate them, then you need to know who's actually using it. There's a couple more. Don't rush into agent building. Before you dive into custom Copilot agents, I know Microsoft would love us all to do those. And it's, agentic is the word of the year. I expect someone to be declaring it as word of the year. I think you need to make sure your Power Platform governance is solid. And that means you've got controls over your connectors. You've got your DLP policies, your data loss prevention policies in place. You've got sharing policies in place and a clear route to production. So if someone is building this absolutely wonderful agent, you need to give them a way that this thing that they played with can be moved into production in a controlled fashion. That means that it can be supported, that there's someone there if it breaks. And you've got sort of the support you'd expect from any sort of application, albeit that it's been built really quickly. Two more maybe. Listen to your users. Feedback loops are essential. What works in one regional team might not land in another, especially in a global firm with varying compliance needs. I think perhaps more than anything else, treat it like a change program. It's not just a tech rollout. Copilot changes how people work. And success is all about culture, communication, continuous learning, not just licenses and features. It's so much more than that, and it has to be if you want to get the value out of it.
That's awesome. And I think, Ali, the word of the year, I saw this in the news last week, was 6-7.
6-7, I don't know what that means.
Anyway, well, thank you. Thank you for joining us. And I look forward to see you on my in my next trip to London. Take care, Ali.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Thanks for tuning in. The heart of our discussion with Ali is this: sustainable change happens when technology, governance, and empathy move together. Her story shows that the real power of innovation lies not just in the tools we adopt, but in how we teach, measure, and support people through change. From inclusive training to strong governance and clear metrics, Ali's work proves that transformation can be both responsible and deeply human. Until next time.
Shift Happens Podcast.